Hello and welcome to RV Advisors All Things RV podcast. I am your host, Kathy Conrad. I've been enjoying the RV lifestyle for over 5 years, and I love helping new RVers realize their RV dreams. This podcast is about RV education, resources, adventures, and the amazing people who love RVing. It is also about discovering the freedom RVers experience, the connection with nature that we are all so grateful for, and how RVing enriches our lives. On this podcast, you can expect us to talk about all things RV, including the good stuff, the challenging stuff, and everything in between. So join us weekly and enjoy the lineup of guests we have in store for you. Are you dreaming of RV life, but drowning in all the decisions, choosing the right RV, understanding the maintenance, and figuring out how everything works? Well, you're not alone. And when you're new to something, you don't even know what you don't know. And that's where I come in. My passion is helping new and aspiring RVers confidently navigate the process of choosing, buying, operating, and maintaining an RV without the stress and costly mistakes. My spring special is a 6-week one-on-one coaching program. So for 90 minutes each week, we'll dive deep into everything you need to know, giving you the answers to your questions and skills to make RVing fun, stress-free, and budget-friendly. I'll help you save time, money, and avoid expensive mistakes. You'll get personalized guidance tailored to your RV journey, and you'll gain the confidence to hit the road with ease. RVs aren't cheap, and one costly mistake could set you back thousands. But with the right knowledge, you can protect your investment and truly enjoy the adventure. If I can help you avoid just one mistake, the course practically pays for itself. So click on the link in the show notes to get the details and start your journey today. Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. And if this is your first time here, welcome and thanks for joining us today. It is springtime and I'm really looking forward to getting out and doing some camping. I'm going to try to do more shorter trips this summer. That's something that was lacking last summer. We just took a couple of big trips, and I'm just kind of reflecting on the camping trips that we've taken that have really fed my soul and that I've really enjoyed. And those always seem to be where we're boondocking or remote camping in less populated areas. And if you're interested in doing that, dry camping, in your RV, there's really just endless possibilities and, to whatever your comfort level is. Maybe if you haven't done it before, you might feel more comfortable in a campground that has RV spots, but that doesn't have any hookups. That's dry camping. Maybe you prefer to go more remotely where you may not find many other people at all. That's, of course, always available. But I think what I love about it is just getting really out in nature, not being in an RV park, which definitely has its fun parts and its conveniences and amenities. But when you just want to unplug and be out in nature, nothing beats dry camping. And we've done it in a lot of different ways. And if you're new, like I said, you might want to start out in just a campground, state park, something like that, that does not have hookups. And in a campground, a lot of times they at least have the pit toilets. Some might have actual bathrooms and showers, which adds a little convenience if you decide you want or need that. Or there may be not, any of those amenities. So whatever comfort level is for you. Some of my favorite spots, we were traveling in the wintertime and we camped overnight on some BLM land in Nevada, and it's called Water Canyon. And there was snow on the ground. It was just beautiful. And I looked it up online and they recommended calling the local BLM office to make sure that the area was open, and it was. And so, it never hurts to do a little research. I also used Google Earth to make sure how far back into the canyon could we go, were there spots to park, was there a good turnaround point. So that's one thing. If you're going to a non-campground and you're going on BLM land or you're going in the national forest. Having Google Earth helps because you can get an idea of the access in and out and areas to pull over and park. So that was an interesting place to go. It was a lot of fun. There was nobody else there, although there were several cars that drove in and out of there. We didn't go too far into the canyon, but I did read on the board there. They had an information board, and that I thought this was interesting. It said, "Don't come in the summertime, June, July, because of the Mormon crickets." Well, I wasn't sure. They were everywhere, and I wasn't. I had a hard time really imagining what that was like until on a trip through Nevada and Oregon, heading up to Idaho. There were Mormon crickets on the road, and it was just pull up a YouTube video on that, and you'll understand why they said don't camp here in this June, July. It's their migration, and they're awful, huge, big. They don't really even look like they're not really even crickets. They're way bigger than that, and they're huge, and there's millions of them. So I was so glad that we weren't there at a time when we would have encountered that. It was bad enough to be driving up Highway 95 through Nevada and Oregon and experiencing them crossing the road as you're driving. It was really gross. Anyway, just a little tidbit of information. The things that you can experience, right? You never know. But that feeling of freedom and of the solitude and the connection to nature is just one of my favorite things. We've done boondocking in other places in California. We went to Stumpy Meadows area. We did that during COVID when they even had the public land closed. But there was a green gate that was open, and it was public land, and they had to leave it open because there was access to private property in that area. So that was really great. There was nobody around, and it was nice during that stressful time to be able to just get out into nature and get away from everything and not feel closed up in the house. And that was national forest, there. And then we've stayed on Bureau of Land Management land. There's just lots of options. Even stopping at a harvest host if you're en route traveling. The harvest hosts don't normally have hookups, so that's a chance also to have an even different experience if you're staying on a farm or at a brewery or llama ranch. There's just endless possibilities. So it's cool to have that sort of experience too, because then you experience the culture of that particular location and maybe meet the people who own it. And it's just a fun experience as well. And there again, there's just typically no hookups. So it's another opportunity for dry camping. One of the websites that I use for looking at places to camp is Campendium, and there's a lot of them. I have actually several apps on my phone, and when I'm planning a trip, I use Campendium and RV Life, RV Trip Wizard to plan our longer trips. But there's lots of different apps out there, and they're more and more all the time that are really helpful in planning your RV travel, whether you're boondocking or you're staying at RV parks or you're taking a short trip or a long trip. It's just helpful to have those. And of course, Google Earth is always particularly handy to have if you're camping on public land. And look it up. Make sure you're not supposed, like they wanted people to kind of check in if you were going to go to that spot in Nevada and Water Canyon. Just to make sure it was open, because it was wintertime too. There was some snow, but not too much that we couldn't access it. So, and the other important thing is that you just always be aware of your surroundings. And if you get any bad vibes, I'm just a huge proponent. Your gut is never going to mislead you. If you're getting bad vibes, move on and go somewhere else. It's just really important to listen to yourself and be aware of your surroundings. And as far as things to think about when you're boondocking, of course, if you have a trailer that's self-contained and you have your fresh water and you have your gray tanks and your black tanks, depending on how long you're going to be out boondocking, you have to be aware of how much water you're using and taking shorter showers, turning the water off in between, or not showering every day to conserve your fresh water, and maybe having a pan for rinsing your dishes in that you can reuse. So I have a Jackery, which is a power source. It's basically a big lithium battery that you can either charge by plugging in, or you can charge with the solar panels, which I have. That's handy to have along if you do want to charge any devices or you're in cold weather and you want to blow dry your hair because you don't want to go to bed with wet hair. Is handy to have. It's always a good idea to let people know where you're going to go. You can even drop a pin to them where you're at. And it's just if you're traveling remotely, let people know where you're going to be or share your location or with the Find Me app, or just share your location with a pin so that at least people know, your general area. And it's always a good idea to keep a watch on the weather if you're boondocking during, what could be inclement weather, to be aware of that. If it's hot out, we have 2 Yamaha generators we run in parallel that we can plug into, and we need the air conditioning, so we carry those in case we need them. So I have the solar power generator for inside use, and then the Yamaha generators to power the trailer if we want the air conditioner. We do have solar and AGM batteries, so we have no problem boondocking and keeping our 12-volt system running. Most of your trailer is run on the 12-volt system, which is all your lights, your water pump, your refrigerator is either usually electric or propane, your microwave, your air conditioner, your outlets, and if you have a regular TV rather than a 12-volt TV, those things are going to run on shore power or the power from generator, unless you have, a really hefty setup with solar and lithium batteries. For us, pretty much the only thing we lose when we're not plugged into shore power is our microwave, coffee pot, TV, air conditioner is a big one. So that's mainly why we carry generators, so that if it's really hot, we can cool down inside running it with the generators. So, but I think we have 180 watts of solar. We have 1 solar panel on the top and the AGM batteries. So that's plenty as long as we have some sunshine. And we even camped in the forest a whole weekend with, intermittent clouds. Had no problem. Our batteries stayed maintained quite well for a whole weekend. Conserving the fresh water, taking a very quick shower or turning it off in between so that you don't fill your gray tank. And it's important to know what your capacities are. If you've camped in your trailer enough, you know also about how much time you can camp, how many days before it's time to empty the tanks. But and the other really important thing is leave no trace. Make sure you take all your trash with you. Don't leave anything. The fire pit is not a trash can. I see that all the time. So please respect nature and the wildlife and other people by packing out whatever you pack in. That's really important. And it only takes a few people of disrespecting that really ruins it for everybody, including the people who don't disrespect leave no trace rule. You can conserve energy too by not using your inverter to power any 110 outlets. That's why I love having that little power bank, the Jackery, is that I could even run my espresso machine on that. I could run Instapot on that, or Crock-Pot. That's super handy to have. And, I don't worry too much about having a signal. That's part of the reason I'm out boondocking, is that I'm trying to get away, enjoy nature, not be distracted by my phone or watching TV. But if someone does want to have use of those things, you could take hotspots. So I have 2. I have one that I can run off a little lithium battery. I can charge it with a Jackery. The whole purpose for me is getting away from everything, so I don't get too concerned about having signal if I'm boondocking. I do keep family in the loop of where we're at, like I said, and if we move to somewhere else, I would let them know. Always having good etiquette is so important. And unfortunately, there are people who do not respect that, whether it's campground etiquette, RV park etiquette, picking up after your dog, even out in the wilderness. Because if nobody does that, and there's a lot of people hiking with their dogs, that ruins it for other people. So clean up after your dog as well. So if you've never boondocked before at all, like I said, you can do some kind of easy starter boondocking areas like a harvest host, or staying on BLM land that's close to towns or conveniences that you may need, or staying at a campground that just doesn't have hookups. So you experience how to conserve water and all those things, but there's other people around if you're not comfortable being out in the middle of the wilderness with no one around. But it doesn't hurt to carry some extra bottled water and a little power station if you want that. If you're going to some areas, especially in California, you can't have wood fires at a lot of the campgrounds. We have a propane fire pit, which I love that because you get a little bit of warmth and you get the ambiance of a fire. You don't get the smoke and you just turn it off. You don't have to wait for the flame to go out before you go to sleep, which you should be doing if you're building a fire. So make sure you're aware of all the rules around where you are boondocking. Sometimes we will scout out an area a week or two ahead of time and drive around and drive in, back in on the roads to see what's available and to see how accessible it is. Because the last thing you want to be doing is towing a trailer on back roads only to learn that there's nowhere to turn around and the only way out is to back out. You never want to get into that situation. So, we'll make an adventure out of it for a day to go drive around and find a place to boondock. That's how we found that place up in Stumpy Meadows during COVID. Was we went up there the weekend before and found this spot so that we could be sure that we did not end up in a situation we didn't want to be in. Between Google Earth and maybe scoping it out physically ahead of time, you have a better chance of finding a spot that has good access and is easy, to turn around and get out. So I love boondocking. It's a lot of fun, especially spending as much time in RV park as we do right now. That's the last place I want to go camping, is to an RV park. Campgrounds are great if there's space and it's a beautiful setting by a lake or something like that. Is really nice. I love that. But mostly, our focus is getting out in nature, having places to hike and to enjoy the outdoors. What are your favorite camping situations? Where do you love to go? Do you like to boondock? Do you like to have hookups? There's plenty of all of that available out there. So finding what works for you. And of course, making reservations can be tricky. For some places, they book up. A lot of the state parks are on the 6-month rolling schedule. Sometimes it's hard to find a place, but I had a lot of luck in the first year and a half or so that we were RVing of getting in on cancellations, because if you're booking 6 months in advance, sometimes things come up, and you have to cancel, and then those spots become available for someone else. But yeah, there's a balance between planning ahead and then going for the adventure and seeing what you can find. Always being aware of access, always listening to your gut, being aware of your surroundings, and always leave no trace. So I hope you have a summer of wonderful RV adventures and camping, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in today to RV Advisors All Things RV Podcast. Please join us again next week for more RV education, resources, adventures, and interesting people. Until then, wishing you amazing adventures, safe travels, and I hope to see you on the road.